I'm Max Rutherford from Pictureline, and here I'm joined with Ryan White from Rode, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about the NT-USB and NT-USB Mini and what separates them from other USB or XLR microphones today. So Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Max. Thanks to Pictureline for doing this. Really appreciate it. And can't wait to talk a little bit about these new and functional microphones. The NT-USB has been around for a little while. NT-USB Mini is a fairly new thing for us, so it's nice to be able to introduce it to everybody.
So I guess right off the bat, what makes these USB microphones awesome? Who's the target audience, and why would I want one of these?
The target audience over the last few years, and man, I can't even exactly pinpoint, exactly when USB microphones became an industry standard, really. Obviously, the conversation is always and forever going to be, USB versus XLR. And I always tell everybody using something functionally is more important than using something necessarily as an upgrade. But the USB market blew up. Things like Twitch streamers, so the gamers really love them because you can put them on a desktop. They're a condenser microphone, which captures things that are happening in your room live really well and really naturally, and you don't necessarily have to have it right up on your face, which a lot of people obviously don't like for cosmetic reasons. So having a USB microphone, plug and play, close proximity but not in your face has really kind of boomed with the advent of streaming and YouTube videos and content creators, for its versatility. Not versatility necessarily, but its ease of use and its plug and play nature.
Okay. So what's the main differences that separates the NT-USB versus the NT-USB Mini?
Love it. The NT-USB was the first out, and it has many things that are built into it that we still put into the NT-USB Mini, but in more functional ways. So the pop filter that it comes with, the stand that it comes with, so its stand is actually like got rubber grommets on the feet of it, just so like if you're actually kind of tapping on your desk, it doesn't pick it up as easily. Okay. And then the pop filter, if you're not familiar with a pop filter, that's just the screen in front of the mic. It's going to keep kind of your plosives, your P's and B's down a little bit. And that pop filter in it, that microphone specifically, the NT-USB, was designed for anybody from a streamer to more importantly, vocalists. Like if you wanted to create some musicality stuff, some music stuff, play a guitar, sing into that pop filter being separated from the mic is a lot more functional than one that's kind of built into it, like the USB Mini. So that's cosmetic, as far as that. On the actual microphone itself, they're both condenser microphones. They're both internally shock mounted, which helps kind of knock down some of the rumble that might happen on your, coffee table or wherever you might be placing that, or your desk for your streaming. But on the side of the NT-USB, if you look closely at it, you'll see the headphone amplifier, which both the USB Mini and the NT-USB have, but then also you have a dial. And out of everything on both these microphones, this is the biggest difference. The dial on the NT-USB is to choose whether you're monitoring the computer or monitoring your source locally, so the microphone itself. Okay. And you turn it from microphone to computer. And without getting too crazy on the tech here, if I record a song and I play the acoustic guitar into the NT-USB and I record it into software, I need to hear it back from the software to then maybe sing over. That's what's called multi-track recording. And so the USB into USB allows you to actually turn off the direct monitoring right from the microphone or turn on the playback from the computer. The NT-USB Mini is a mixture of the two. It blends them both together, and you're stuck with that. And so you have to customize your computer output to do it. Now, if I'm streaming, all I'll do is I'll monitor directly from the microphone. So you just turn it to the microphone, or in the case of the NT-USB Mini, you hit direct monitoring, which is a push of the button. And then you're hearing the microphone and you don't need to hear anything else.
Okay. So I guess if I'm just trying to upgrade my audio recording for my streaming, for, my Zoom meetings or anything like that, an NT-USB Mini would probably be the better choice for it. But if I wanted to kind of step up my, starting to get into a, home, more professional studio recording for vocal work or, guitar instrument recording, the NT-USB would be a better choice for me.
Absolutely. Gives you more flexibility right from the microphone out of your software to customized versus the NT-USB Mini, which is more plug and play. What goes into it is what comes out of it.
Fantastic. So is there a major difference between something kind of plug and play like these NT-USB mics versus an XLR microphone option?
The biggest is what we were talking about with the plug and play aspect of it. The secondary thing would be that it's not versatile, right? So a USB microphone is, I do not know, and I always apologize for USB microphones being limited.
Okay.
I don't know why computers can't take two USB microphones. It seems like computers are very smart and you could customize it. Nerdy side of it is there's something called an aggregate device where you can go into your computer and say, I want to use these two microphones that are USB. It's not easy to do. It's not very sturdy, so it could drop out on you or stop working. And it's just not recommended. If you start getting into multiple microphones, you want to get into an XLR setup that allows you to just plug in two microphones. And like usually we'll talk about like a mixer or an audio interface that'll have two microphones to plug into it, whereas a USB just doesn't allow you to do that. And the last on that is more about if something goes wrong, like something breaks, or you accidentally drop it or whatever, they're more sensitive, but you also can't necessarily just replace that one part. You have to send the whole thing back and kind of get it repaired. Since there's no diversity in the signal, it's just that microphone and a USB cable. That's it, so you can't really customize it too much and you're only stuck with that one microphone. With USB though, for those people who are only needing one microphone, the quality can be better in having better preamps, like an audio interface that's specifically meant to do that job. But for people that are just trying to stream Twitch or just talk into a microphone close to them, the difference isn't going to be enough to really cause you to need to buy higher end gear, unless you're interested in it or you just want to be sure that it's perfectly functional.
Gotcha,
So USB microphones can be very powerful if all you need is one mic.
Fantastic. So the NT-USB and the NT-USB Mini they're cardioid mics, right?
That is correct. They are condensers, which is the type of microphone. That just means they're very sensitive. They pick up sounds naturally the way you have them. And a cardioid pattern is what's known as the polar pattern. It's two things that I always recommend everybody look into on their microphones when they buy them. And the cardioid pattern is going to allow you to reject sound from the back side of that mic.
So I guess on that topic, how much soundproofing or reflecting am I going to have to do in my audio space? If it's rejecting some of the audio on the backside, that can certainly help if you have, movement or noise coming from the backside of the microphone. But if I'm in a studio space or, again, trying to do more home recording of vocal work or anything like that, how much soundproofing should I plan on having to do in my home studio?
Love it. I get that question a lot, and sorry to throw a couple other microphones out there, but in the USB space, the NT-USB, the NT-USB Mini are condensers like we were talking about. We do have the Podcaster, which is a USB dynamic microphone. That's the other side of condenser. Long story short, without getting too nerdy about it, dynamic microphones are harder to move, so they're less sensitive. So if you have a bad room, I do recommend people get a dynamic microphone. But the problem with that too is that you got to get that dynamic microphone pretty close to the source. And if you don't, then you're gonna have to turn it up really loud and get more noise and so forth. Condenser microphones help because I'm using the Rode VideoMic NTG right now, and it's a condenser microphone with a super cardioid pattern, what's nicknamed a shotgun microphone, and I'm about 8 inches away from it. And I'm not in a perfect room, but I'm in my home office that is also my studio, and I do have dampening up on the walls. So since it's a condenser microphone, it's more sensitive. Move it closer to the person will also help with some of this. But if you don't do anything to your room to keep your voice from bouncing around everywhere, a condenser microphone like the NT-USB and like the NT-USB Mini are going to pick up those sounds going all over the place. The other thing to remember too is things like air conditioners, and your fiance has the TV on in the other room, and like cars outside the window, and I'm pointing to all these things. She's not here and the TV's not on in the other room, but I'm using a condenser microphone. So I turned off the air conditioner, and it's midday, so I don't really have a lot of traffic going outside. The only thing really happening in my room is my computer fan. So I choose two things: the condenser microphone, so I can get away from it a little bit, but it's sensitive, so it might pick up that computer fan. What I did was actually choose a microphone that has a super cardioid polar pattern. So this actually cancels more from this side. So my computer is down over here getting reduced by the microphone I chose. So going back to how much do you need to actually knock down the sounds in your room? If you choose an NT-USB and an NT-USB Mini, you're gonna want to make sure the room is good because it will pick it up. And so that's something you actively have to do. And it becomes a bit of an artistic endeavor. Does it pick up enough to make you want to turn off your air conditioner? Maybe it doesn't for what you're trying to record. But if you're doing music and things like that, you're going to have to listen back to it and make sure it sounds good. If it doesn't, things like foam filtering up on the walls, you're never going to get your house soundproofed. It's the difference between somebody standing behind the door and trying to scream at you and not hearing a thing, and me talking and it bounces off that wall and comes back. If you I got a big rug right over here, down on the floor. It's knocking down a lot of things from the floor. And like I said, I have filtering, like those foam filters that you can buy and stuff like that right behind the camera. So the microphone, it hits those panels and then doesn't come back to the microphone. And just doing a little bit like that can go a long way, to properly using the NT-USB and USB Mini.
Awesome. So I guess with this plug and play nature of these NT-USB microphones, is there any sort of special software that's necessary to start the recording, or do most computers come with some sort of recording software built in standard? Or again, if I'm just using this for, to enhance the audio in my Zoom meetings or anything like that, is it just, again, just like you said, don't have to worry about any other special software, just plug it in and it's ready to go?
Unfortunately, it's not as simple as that. You do need a few other things to add on. The good part about a USB microphone is, like I was talking about, kind of its ups and downs, is that it has everything built right into it. So essentially what we're trying to do here is turn that microphone into the sound card. And in my classes, I always teach that you got to make the hardware happy with the operating system happy with the software. So good news about software in the digital age is that audio recording softwares like Reaper, your MacBook literally comes with GarageBand and I think iMovie now, so even creating movies. There's plenty of free software out there to actually record the audio, right? And streaming on Zoom and things like that, right? It is the software and it works with it. So the USB microphone, its whole intent is to become the sound card for your computer, no matter what software you're running into it. So if you make that computer happy with the outside hardware, to drive that home, I'm using the NT-USB Mini, NT-USB Mini's right over here. I'm using the VideoMic NTG, and that is plugged in. That can plug in USB into my computer. Then the computer sees that microphone and you assign it to be the inputs and outputs. It'll take the microphone into my computer now and take anything that happens in my computer out to its headphone jack. If you don't assign those things, it won't be happy, but you don't need anything extra. You just have to set that extra step up. Yep. And you got to do that with audio interfaces and everything, mixers and all that stuff as well. So the microphone is a microphone, but you no longer have to buy that extra piece of gear like an audio interface, because it is the audio interface.
So it's about as simple as can be, right?
Plug it in. Once I'm a Mac user, I do have Windows computers as well, but as a Mac user, once you assign that, they're pretty good at actually recognizing that you plugged it back in, so you don't necessarily have to check it every single time. But for troubleshooting purposes, I always recommend people go into their sound settings and make sure it's choosing that, because one day you might not hear it and you go, why? And so if you go into your sound settings in the software, you got to reestablish that microphone as your input and outputs, but you have to do that every single time with no matter who the manufacturer is or what it is. So you got to double check that.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, I think you answered all of our questions here. It's been super informative, and I hope it helps people learn the differences between these NT-USB and NT-USB mini microphones. And I want to thank Ryan from Rode for coming over and talking with us.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.